So let's start. Please revise the last class topics, then we'll start the class. Okay. So let us start. First few things. One is regarding RRTs. All RRTs, I just want to clarify few things. All RRTs which are having a standalone importance for your examination will be discussed in class. Okay. So those topics which are relevant will be discussed in class. If there is some topic which are not so relevant, or it is basically giving some additional points, then it may be skipped. But generally what is the plan is that we will try to give only those things which are having direct relevance. So we will be discussing that in the class. That will be discussed on the same day. That is a plan. Second, regarding how to write RRT, I think still students are having some confusion about the answer writing part of RRT. So previously what we used to do, you used to get a discussion, then we will write an answer. That will continue. We'll still discuss topics and we'll write answers in class. But the idea with this is that there are always some topics which are relevant, which are having a standalone relevance in UPSC. And whenever I gave articles, what I felt is that you people are skipping that article reading. It is encouraged and it is advised to read articles because it will give you some inputs which you can use directly from that language of the article, directly from that particular article. Next, whenever we gave RRTs, whenever gave answers, there are few serious students who did that, but the class needs to be a bit more equal so that everybody is benefiting from it. So what I found by adopting this model is that now everybody started reading some articles and you are writing some answers based on, see, the advantage of this is writing answer is what we try to adopt, a quick thinking answer writing model. You are able to think some points and write it. You will gradually develop that skill, which is very, very important for UPSC. You cannot plan all answers beforehand. Don't expect that. So this is the idea we are trying to ensure through writing an answer with some limited content, not a complete content, but with limited content. You are able to think something, you are able to bring something which you already know, and you are writing an answer. This skill otherwise you won't develop, that quick thinking. That is very, very important, because 3 hours 20 questions is the reason why UPSC is tough, mains. If you are getting 6 hours and 20 questions, UPSC will be less tough. If you are getting 1 day and 20 questions, then it will be again less tough. So that is why we are doing it. Third one, with respect to answer writing, one is, okay, you are writing some content, that is accumulated content, and you are using it. Second, direct content will come from where? Come from the articles. I will just show you one way to do it, done by one of your classmate only. So he made points out of the articles. He planned an introduction. From there he got some historical precedent with respect to UPSC, the pillar of UPSC, UPSC's achievements. Then it expanded the Indian dream. Then what is that idea? Like that. The next page, Odisha government rules. He got whatever is relevant from that article. So this is just a crisp points from that particular articles. So with this, you can write somewhat good enough answer for that. Plus, you will add something from your quick thinking, so your answer will be better. Now, plus we are discussing that. That is the third step. Now you are getting more points so that you can write a super good answer. Not only related to this question, you can use this content some other areas also. So that is the purpose of the discussion. Plus, what we will do is, we will continue with broad discussion of topics which are always relevant, and then we will write answer. This will continue. So these two we need to compile it, and you need to utilize the both the test, the article, the discussion of a broad topic, the answer writing. So it is now a continuous thing. Plus what is the plan is also to do. So if this is on Tuesday, Thursday we'll try to do PYQs. PYQs, what is the plan is that we will upload 5 questions. Out of that 3 will come. But what is my concern is that within one day, Thursday, can you do that 5 questions? Is it possible? Okay, good. Wednesday, one day will be there. Next day, you will have to write some PYQs. So advantage is that, and PYQs will be selectively placed. Those PYQs which may be useful for your coming examination, not blindly what are the PYQs and just doing it. So PYQs will be selectively placed and will be given, and then you can just from whatever source, you will have some source. So use that source and write an answer on the next class, that is Thursdays. So 5 questions out of the 3 you are supposed to write. That will be the plan. So question will be given beforehand with respect to the PYQ test. Okay. So you can come with your PYQ workbook and you can write in that, or you can write it separately, but you will have to write a broader answer in the PYQ workbook separately. So these things, see, if you are spending your a day 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours on Tuesdays and 2 to 3 hours on Thursdays plus another maybe 2 hours, it is more than enough. That is the purpose. So if to read an article, it won't take much time, maximum I think 10 minutes it will take. How much time it is taking? 8 minutes. 8 or 10 minutes, whatever. Then do this particular job of just jot down what are the important things, what you can use it as intro, what you can use it as a conclusion, like that. And with that plus your content, something which you are able to quick think, that time use that and write a better answer. Anyway, we will discuss if it is having a standalone reference. Now, for example, today I will discuss that after completing some of the previous thing. Today there was a question on Panchayati Raj institutions. Now one student very genuinely asked, sir, one state issue, whether it will be relevant for UPSC. Then you don't know how PYQs are being asked. UPSC in the past, question came directly from this. The question was, what are the pros and cons of merger of urban and rural bodies? It was basically an initiative of Tamil Nadu. Based on that question came. That is how you should predict the question, because PRI is 73rd, 74th Amendment Act, critically analyze. After 25 years that relevance is bit less. You will have to look for what are the emerging areas, what are the emerging challenges in PRIs. So even if it is something related to Odisha, this is an emerging challenge. What is emerging challenge? Bypassing the elected representatives is an emerging challenge. Or this is part of something like a center, state, local relationship, 3-tier system, how maybe state is bypassed, how maybe local authorities are bypassed, how it is affecting the legacy reforms. That is very important. So that is why that question, it is having a standalone reference, it is always a 10 marker. If you are not able to predict that, then it is, you are not able to understand what is the level of UPSC question. So don't think that, okay, this is just related, the question is also not related to any Odisha. Question is related how, what are the implications if you are doing this thing. And UPSC, the topic of UPSC is because 100 years, written by the chairman itself, came recently in the Hindu. Very, very significant topic. Constitutional bodies are directly part of your syllabus. Third one is deregulation. There is a continuous topic on deregulation announced earlier this year during the budget by finance minister. Later it was announced during the independence speech by Prime Minister. Third one, a committee is constituted, Rajiv Gauba committee. This makes the topic again standalone relevance. So this is how you will also understand, okay, these are the articles which I should read. These articles came in different newspapers. That article came in Economic Times. Generally you will skip such topics because these are basically economic news. So that is how you will select. If anything is having a standalone reference, we will discuss that in the class, because the idea of all these things, all this approach is to ensure that you are better prepared. And I am also guaranteeing that you will be better prepared if you are doing this very sincerely. Okay, let us continue. We will complete the domestic violence topic, then we will come to this again. So we will complete it fast and we will come back. Now that is also, that is very little is left. So the act, that is Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. This itself is significant because it is 2 decades of the act. 2 decades of the act. So it makes it important. So first, what are the key provisions? First one is, the act is broader with respect to the definition of what is a domestic violence and who are considered part of this domestic relationship. Both the case, what is domestic violence and what is domestic relationship, it is broad. It is broader in the terms of what is constituted as domestic violence and what is a domestic relationship. So what is considered domestic violence? It is not only physical, it is also emotional, mental, sexual abuse. So physical, sexual, emotional or financial, economical aspect, economic abuse, that is depriving the people, the partner or the person in the domestic relationship any kind of financial resources, that is economic abuse. So it includes physical abuse, it includes sexual abuse, it includes emotional, psychological, mental torture or continuously belittling it. You can see that happens inside the home also. Husband may be continuously belittle women, that is emotional abuse. Or next is economic abuse, not giving access to any financial resources or not allowing the partner to fetch a job or to better financially. So these are, next is domestic relationship. So domestic relationship is also given a wider definition, thereby it includes person in domestic relationship, that means even live-in relationship, even if it is not legally married but in a domestic relationship is covered. So that makes it very broad, shared household idea. If somebody is sharing a household, then this act will kick in. Next is, it is also providing comprehensive civil relief. Comprehensive civil relief, that is, for example, right to reside in that particular house, that is a relief provided. So that right is provided, right to reside. Another key thing is protection orders. Court will give protection orders, protection of that particular victim from the domestic violence. So this can also include stopping the person from entering that particular place to prevent any violence, stopping the person from entering the premises, protection order. Next is monetary relief, compensation. Third one is, it is also providing support infrastructure for implementation. Support infrastructure for implementation. What are the support infrastructure? For example, establishment of protection officers at the district level. Every state should establish protection officers at the district level, and they should be preferably they should be women. So protection officers or shelter homes, establish shelter homes. Or it also puts some important duties on law enforcement or police. It puts some important duties on the police or law enforcement authorities. So these are the support infrastructure. Fourth one is, it also prescribes punishment for violation of the rules or non-compliance. It prescribes punishment. So these are the four major key aspects which you should not forget. That's it. One is a broad definition, second is comprehensive civil reforms, third one is setting up of infrastructure, and fourth is punishment. So just remember this thing, all these things are important. So broad definition, comprehensive civil reforms, protection officers, and punishment. So that is basically the key aspects. Now what are the positives? Positives, the idea of this law is to prevent the power imbalance. Presently or before this act, there was always what we discussed in the past class, there was a problem of power imbalance. What is the problem because of power imbalance? Under reporting. So this is leading to what problem? Invisibilization of the crime. Crime is invisible. So this is a problem because of this power imbalance. There is a perpetual dependence. So that is one thing. So through broadening the definition, through better redressal mechanism, and also through state intervention, this is another key aspect. What is the state intervention point? Tell me first, what is the state intervention? Generally state is considered to be, it should keep away from the private sphere. State will enter only basically in those things in the public sphere. But household is something in the private sphere, but state is still entering. Why? To protect the women from the power imbalance. So that is a key aspect. State is entering to ensure that nobody is discriminated, nobody is unduly violated even in private sphere. So that is very important. Physical abuse or sexual abuse or anything. So these are the key aspects to ensure power imbalance. So this is one aspect. But what is very important to prevent domestic violence is called as, we need a dual track remedy. Dual track remedy. What is a dual track remedy? Civil plus criminal remedies. Civil plus criminal remedies are required. Dual track remedies required. Because always civil solutions may not be enough, efficient. So there is one important section which was previously called as section 498A of IPC. Presently it is section 85 of BNS. Section 85 of BNS. It is a similar wording. Now what is objective of this particular? What is objective of this particular law? It is to punish various forms of cruelty in matrimonial relationship. Punish various forms of cruelty in matrimonial relationship. So there is these kind of crimes will be considered as what? A criminal offense. Criminal offense under section 498A or section 85. To prevent any such forms of cruelty against women in matrimonial relationship, it is considered as what? A criminal offense. Now what is the problem highlighted by courts, various courts, higher courts of the country, high courts of Supreme Court, that there is a problem of misuse, that is shield versus weapon issue. There is a problem. What is the problem? Shield versus weapon. Now what is this problem? That is, there was a lot of incidents of misuse of this law, leading to what? Immediate arrest of the people. This creates some kind of stigma, or it affects their right to dignity, reputation. So court says that because of this, because the misuse, there should be some kind of what? Some kind of procedural safeguards. There is a need of some kind of procedural safeguards. But what is the law says? Arrest that particular person immediately. So court through judicial intervention ensured procedural safeguards. Recently it was again in news. Which case? Shivangi Bansal case 2025. This was again in news because of Shivangi Bansal 2025 case. In this case, Supreme Court endorsed guidelines issued by Allahabad High Court. Supreme Court endorsed the guidelines issued by Allahabad High Court. So that is why higher courts and Supreme Court time and again intervened to prevent the misuse. So what are these guidelines? Two major aspects of the guidelines. One is cooling off period. Cooling off period means no immediate arrest. No immediate arrest. There should be some kind of cooling off period. And meanwhile, during this period, the matter will be passed on to family welfare committees. Family welfare committees. And they will take up what role? Role of some kind of mediation. Mediation. What is basically the idea of mediation? It is basically part of alternative dispute resolution. What is the difference? How it is different from what is this alternate? Normal dispute resolution is what? Arrest and detention. That is court. So here there is always a criminality issue and the resultant problems. So try to go for, if the problem is solvable through mediation, then use family welfare committees and try to resolve it. Or they should find out what is actual issue. They should report it. So it is the responsibility of them to report it. This particular guidelines is considered as, now again it is in news, but it is considered as the problem of judicial experimentalism. Judiciary's role is basically what? To ensure justice. But this is criticized as some kind of judicial experimentalism. Why? Because judiciary in the past also, Supreme Court itself in the past issued such guidelines that state should establish a family welfare committees under the district legal service authorities, or DLSA can establish FWCs. But what happened? Because of the criticism, what was the criticism? It prevents access to justice. Supreme Court itself nullified such models in the past. So there was a past judicial experimentalism where judiciary initially directed to set up family welfare committees. Later it was withdrawn, the direction in another case. So this is a challenge. So why court withdrawn this? Because it was against access to justice. Same thing is now reinvented in the Shivangi Bansal endorsement. It is reinvented. So this is kind of judicial experimentalism by the court, which is criticized as goes against what? Access to justice. Access to justice. Not only that, there are already guidelines. What are the guidelines? Arrest should follow some kind of procedural safeguards. What is the procedural safeguards? Based on principle of necessity. Based on principle of necessity means only if there is a credible risk. Only if there is a credible risk, then only police should arrest the accused in this cases. So that is principle of necessity. Police authorities, they should conduct a preliminary inquiry, and if they find that okay, there is a credible risk, then they can proceed with the arrest. If they think that there is no credible risk, then they don't need to arrest the accused. So principle of necessity. Not only that, there is also another key aspect, that is issue a prior notice. Issue a prior notice. So instead of arresting, issue a prior notice for appearance. So husband or the concerned people, they can, based on the notice, they can reach out to the police station. Police don't need to arrest them immediately after the FIR. However, it is criticized. What is the major criticism? The problem is, it is related to access to justice. The biggest problem is that if there is a cooling off period, if there is some kind of settlement option, then because of the inherent power imbalance, what will happen? The victim may withdraw the case. If there is a lot of pressure on the victim, then victim may withdraw the case. That is why you can always see that many cases will be finally, what will happen? Cases will be withdrawn. This is a challenge. So this is a legal challenge, how to address the misuse of a law which is actually intended to act as a shield to protect the woman from cruelties happening in matrimonial relationship. Okay, so these are the key aspects of the law. Then there is also other problems. Another problem is the problem of marital rape. Marital rape. So in India, marital rape is not a criminal offense, means it is decriminalized. So this is considered again as a challenge. The petitions are pending in front of the Honorable Supreme Court, asking the court to direct or criminalize marital rape. So recently there was one more case which is also in news, that is related to issue of alienation of affection. This is also in news. It was there in Hindu also. Alienation of affection. What is the problem? No, see, there is another problem. If there is some third party in this matrimonial relationship, then it will lead to what? Alienation of the affection between the parties in the matrimonial relationship. Means if there is a third party, a lover or somebody, then it will lead to problems in the matrimonial relationship. Then that spouse can file a complaint. So such measures are there one side, that even court is accepting that there is a possibility of even a third party. Now what is the problem? Problem is that these kind of issues in the matrimonial relationship, there is no specific law for that. If you are bringing a law, then what will be the problem? It is always, there is always a problem of misuse. So these are considered as what? You have to approach the court, and court will have to find on a case to case basis. So presently also with respect to when like marital rape, it is not criminalized because there is always a high possibility of misuse. And it is difficult to find a proper balancing provision and also proper evidences. So that is a challenge. So such challenges are there, and according to court itself, if you are criminalizing it, it will affect the institution of marriage. So this is challenge. This challenge to address the problems of adultery. Joseph Shine case, adultery was decriminalized in Joseph Shine case. But now with respect to using the doctrine of alienation of affection, you are actually bringing back the possibility of adultery. So such challenges are there which will happen. How law may not be in a position to handle. Even very interestingly, I don't remember in which case, sender replied, why sender do not want to bring a law. Is that? Which case it is? That is basically related to transgenders case, right? Yeah, why sender don't want to bring a law is that if there is a law, then it is having a uniform applicability. If judges are looking into that matter, then it is having a case to case applicability. So it is better to have a case to case applicability than a uniform applicability. But what is the problem? In many cases, this is challenge. This is an administrative dilemma. This is a legal dilemma. This is an ethical dilemma. But what is the problem? Problem is that if such law is not there, then it will lead to invisibilization issue. So that is the challenge. But bringing a uniform law is also a challenge because it will lead to lot of possibilities of misuse. So this legal dilemma, administrative dilemma, and ethical dimension is there in such cases. Next is another problem with respect to domestic violence is the problem of low conviction rate. Low conviction rate, that data is already discussed. That means majority of the cases are either settled or withdrawn. So that is also a problem because of this power imbalance. Next problem with respect to domestic violence, sexual abuse, sexual harassment is the problem of secondary victimization. Secondary victimization. What is the secondary victimization? Yeah, process itself is the punishment. So not only they will be affected because of the primary victim, but also because of the process, court proceedings, they will face the mental trauma of the proceedings, leading to secondary victimization. Secondary victimization. So this is also because of another problem, that is society is having a problem of victim blaming. Society is having a problem of victim blaming. This will lead to re-traumatization of the victim. So victim want to avoid all those things. So because of the societal victim blaming issue, victim blaming attitudes, and because of the repeated traumatic experiences, re-traumatization of the victim also will try to avoid it, making the crime invisible. Okay. Next is another problem with respect to access to justice is also because of implementation of the law. The third key provision of the law is what? Support infrastructure. Establishment of support infrastructure. But what is the problem? Inadequate support infrastructure. Protection officers are not appointed. Shelter homes are not there, or even lack of gender sensitization, or institutional silence. Institutional silence. What is institutional silence? The failure of institutions to adequately address the concerns of the victim, or the police. For example, first level of law enforcement is with whom? With the police. Police itself will put pressure on the victim to withdraw the case, leading to what? Institutional silence, systemic institutional failure of institutions to give support, that is institutional silence. Then socio-cultural challenges. What are the socio-cultural challenges? Yeah, societal attitudes, stigmatization, victim blaming, or coercive control. The goal is basically to dominate. Coercive control, power imbalance, coercive control through psychological or emotional abuse. There is a movie, I don't know whether it's remade, it's in Malayalam, Jai 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 Ho. Anybody watched it? No. It's a movie related domestic violence. And what movie picturizes, what the movie shows is basically, finally the matter goes to the court. And they will try for a settlement, everything. But the movie basically shows that the woman responds. Woman responds to the domestic violence in the same manner. There is one more movie that is in Great Indian Kitchen. That is not directly related to the like physical violence, but it is more about the emotional violence. So that is a problem. Coercive control. These are the key tactics: psychological or emotional abuse or verbal attacks. Next problem is natal family violence. What is natal family violence? That is violence committed by their relatives, father, grandparents, or anybody. Natal family violence, siblings. Then the problem of socialization of masculinity. I think we discussed this point. Socialization of masculinity. So from childhood itself, boys are socialized in this manner. Okay, masculinity is this. You need to dominate, you need to do those things, you need to do these things, and they are normalized also. Many things are normalized inside the house. The problems actually start from the house. You need to realize, you need to recognize, and you need to stop that from the house. You cannot stop that outside unless things are not settled or stopped inside the house. The problem is sometimes even if you know that something is happening, you will remain silent. And this starts from the life cycle, especially of the girl children. From the starting itself, they are discriminated. So that is leading to socialization of masculinity. Even with respect to giving food, there will be discrimination. They'll say that, okay, anyway, you are not going to study or earn something for us, support us when we are old. Everything is by this particular chap. And he will leave parents immediately. He is just waiting for the 10th class. But there is a problem, that is socialization of masculinity. So what is the way forward? First one is strengthening the institutional. That is, you can think of Pickett. From Pickett you can think the point. Policy is needed, institutions are needed, collaboration between NGOs, media, everything is needed, awareness is needed. Then financial support, for example, establishing shelter homes, separate entities are required. Then finally, technology for online reporting. So such things needs to be adopted. So Pickett is a solution for, or Pickett is a way forward for these things. Okay. So write down a question. Analyze the factors. Analyze the factors. Analyze the factors that have undermined. Analyze the factors that have undermined the effectiveness of PWDVA, Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005, 2 decades after its, 2 decades after its enactment. Okay. Right. Before writing this, how you say that this is ineffective? Second. See, this should come here, then this will come, then instead of this you use ineffectiveness as the word and write the points. See, instead of using this word, you say this point. Use this here, then you use it. Correct. Structuring. This should come here, this will come here. There is no link between this and this. Context should have some linkages with the main body. Okay. So the question is very simple, direct question. Analyze the factors responsible for undermining the effectiveness of nearly after 2 decades. So by reading itself, what should come in your, before structuring itself, what you should write? Okay, I need to use data, I need to use a diagram, and I should use some constitutional dimension. It's UPSC answer. So what is answer framework? You can start either with the constitution and talk about gender, importance of gender equality, or you can directly talk about the law, that is, what is the law. I recommend you to give an introduction and establish that, okay, what is the constitutional morality? It is about gender equality. In order to ensure that a standalone law is enacted in 2005, that is Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act. And the key aspects, you put in a box and say these are the key provisions of the law. Third one is, however, it is considered as ineffective after 2 decades because of the present landscape. What is that? As per NFHS data, mention the data, or as per NCRB, anything, 1 or 2 data you can mention here and say that it is considered as ineffective because of this particular landscape, this particular problem. Now you are saying that this is because of the following factors. You write the factors: law related problem, judicial experimentalism, you talk about infrastructural problems, socio-cultural problems. You mentioned thus. What is required here is that go for at least one flow diagram. What is that? Power imbalance leading to what? Under reporting, leading to what? invisibilization of the crime. This is actually the problem. So where you should address, government should interfere where? This power imbalance aspect. So that is why, hence, government, what is the government's priority? Government is taking some steps for women empowerment. You can mention anything with respect to financial empowerment, social empowerment, anything. So social financial empowerment is basically government's priority to prevent what? This power imbalance. Further suggestions you can give, some Pickett model you can suggest and conclude with if you did not start with the constitution, conclude with the constitution. Or you conclude with a quote. What is a quote? Yeah, Dr. Ambedkar's quote you can use. Any good quote related to women empowerment or women-led development. That should be the priority. So this is important, and the structuring is also important because there should be a flow. While reading it, you cannot write something, you are using a context and then there is no link, or you are starting with something, then you are coming here, then you are coming here. No. So easy questions, what is very important is you should try to get a better score from the easy questions by writing keywords, better keywords. You don't need to write lot of points here. Some good keywords you can use, some studies you can mention, and some flow diagram which shows what is the problem. Okay. Next topic, we'll complete one more pending topic, that is public procurement. So we discussed up to the success, correct. So we'll start from the success point. See, two more points you can mention there in that domestic violence. Recently there is another study which found that women are also facing from the problem of sleep debt. Sleep debt. Women sleep less than men. Sleep debt. Women sleep less than men. Because of there is a huge sleep disparity. There, this same problem, double burden issues. Men won't participate even in the domestic course affairs. So that is leading to another problem, sleep debt. Sleep debt is also, or sleep disparity is also leading to other issues. Emotional, psychological issues. So again it will have an impact on their life. So they are in a kind of vicious cycle of such disparity and deprivation. That is a problem. They are not able to come out. They are not getting time for what? Work on themselves. There is a study, time use study, TUS. What is the problem? What is TUS study? I think my old students will be knowing. Yeah, care economy. What is the problem? Women spend disproportionately more time on these care works compared to men. Thereby they are not getting time for their own improvements, developments, skilling. That is why they are always in a vicious cycle. So you need to come out from that. Okay. So come to the success point. Success of public procurement. So here, as I discussed, these kind of answers, while reading the question itself, you say that you write on the side, okay, there is a scope for diagram. So here we discussed up to the latest reforms. Now what are the success? First success is that because it helps in national missions like Make in India. Make in India. It helps in national missions like Make in India. This is very important for self-reliance, Atmanirbharta. So what are the key aspects under that? So there is something called as Public Procurement Order 2017. Public Procurement Order 2017, which give preferences to local suppliers, or for the products which are having indigenous content, local suppliers. So thereby promoting the idea of what? Make in India. So that is a success aspect. Second is there is also EC norms for startups. EC norms for startups. For example, exemption of startups from prior experience criteria. Exemption from prior experience criteria to participate in the government tenders. There is no need of a prior experience criteria if it is a startup. What is the advantage of this? Innovation. That is basically the question itself. So this will also promote what? Innovations, startups, creative destruction or innovations. Third, this procurement policy is also promoted in bringing digitization to improve the overall transparency. Example, government e-market place, GEM. It also helped in bringing digitization, improving the digitization and transparency in procurement through initiatives like GEM portal. However, there are certain shortcomings. First one is, there are certain reforms. One major aspect of reform is what? Improvement in the financial limit. But even with an improvement of financial limit up to 2 lakh, it is considered as insufficient, inadequate. Insufficient limit with a limit limit up to 2 lakh is not sufficient. So if you want to focus on quality, you will have to give further relaxation. Next is, there is also another risk of marginalizing domestic suppliers. What is this marginalizing domestic suppliers will happen when? Yeah, especially because of provisions of global tenders under, say for example, FTAs, free trade agreements. Example, UK-India FTA, CETA. There is such provision, procurement provisions. So when procurement is open for global tenders, then it will lead to marginalization of the domestic firms. Third one is risk of proactive market shaping. So countries like Germany, South Korea, USA, their procurement model is considered as proactive market shaping models. Proactive market shaping models. But India is not clearly ensuring that proactive market shaping models through procurement. Next is Implementation issue. What is implementation challenge? Historically, government system is known for its inefficiency, red tapeism, delay. This is the problem. Inefficiency, red tapeism, delay. That is the biggest challenge with respect to our bureaucratic system. So what is the path forward? First one is suggestions like give exemption to innovation through sandbox exemptions. Sandbox exemptions. What is a sandbox? Controlled testing environment. Controlled testing environment is basically sandbox. So you can test there. You can come up with it. So rules are tweaked under such conditions. So you can test and tweak, and you can come up with a better product. So give exemption for such innovations, critical innovations through sandbox exemptions, especially for premier institutes like IITs, IISc, like that. So this is based on the idea that is try, test, tweak, 3T model. Try, test and then tweak and come up with the new solutions. Next is cognitive procurement. What is the idea of cognitive procurement? We discussed last class. Yeah, AI based, technology based, so that reduce the human incapacities and discretion. Cognitive procurement, AI based, technology based procurement. So it can predict many things, that is advantage. Next is co-procurement alliances. Co-procurement alliances. What is the idea of co-procurement alliances? Multiple institutions collaborating. That is co-procurement alliances. They join together, they collaborating to procure goods or services. That is co-procurement alliances. Multiple institutions collaborating to procure. Instead of an individual procurement, go for co-procurement alliances. Another key aspect is that there should always be promoting innovation through national innovation funds. That is always required. Government should, we discussed a model in an economic survey topic. Yeah, pull research system. We discussed that model, pull research system, in the context of economic survey discussion. Pull research system. What is the idea of pull research system? Yeah, government should ensure that if there is an innovation coming, government is procuring it, government is taking it. So when there is a guaranteed procurement, then it will ensure better investment in the procurement. That is pull research model. So such things can be adopted. Best practices, USA. USA's program is called as SBIR. USA program SBIR, that is Small Business Innovation Research. SBIR program, it reserves a percentage of federal R&D, Federal Research and Development R&D fund, specifically for startups. And utilizes procurement contracts to support these companies. Germany's model of high-tech strategy, quote unquote, high tech strategy. High tech strategy explicitly mandates that public procurement must be used as a tool to promote innovative solutions. South Korea follows pre-commercial procurement. Pre-commercial procurement. South Korea's pre-commercial procurement, under which government pays a premium. Government pays a premium for prototypes of latest technologies. Premium for prototypes of latest technologies. So these are different from conventional procurement models. So 1 or 2 you can use it as body part of the answers. So the question is very simple question. Last RRT question. The question was examine the role of public procurement fostering innovation. How far have the recent procurement reforms succeeded in this regard? Talk about some positive aspect, that achievements you can mention. You can also talk about the shortcomings or limitations, and conclude with adopting South Korean model or Germany model should be a way forward. What is the quote? Innovation? You can use that already we discussed. Next. Okay. UPSC. What is UPSC? Union Public Service Commission. Very good, at least you reached that level. News, what is the context of this topic? Very, thank you. Introduction, timeline, foundational mandate, constitutional premises. This is pure factual things. You can check your old notes. Composition and function. Why it is important is 2007 or 8 a question came. What is the composition and function of UPSC? So, though it is came 17-18 years back, but still you need to know that factual information, that is why. So please check your polity note and just write that, that's it. I am not repeating it. Core pillars of UPSC, its achievements, to support achievements, some data, challenges, views by important personalities, including chairman of UPSC. Reform measures taken, that is also the way forward, because if you are not mentioning it, then it will be the way forward. Then conclusion. So the question is, why is UPSC referred to as the guardian of meritocracy? Assess how far these objectives have been achieved. How many of you wrote answer to this? Distribute your copies if you don't mind, or if you don't feel shame, then you can distribute. Otherwise, you check your copy and you give a mark. At least that you do rationally, expecting that we'll start. So the context of this topic is 100 years of UPSC. So, established in 1926, we are moving to the 100 years of establishing a federal public service commission during the British colonial period, and UPSC with a constitutional mandate from 1950 onwards is a constitutional body. So any question on a constitutional body, you should use that as a key factor in the introduction. So introduction is given, that is UPSC is a constitutional body, and you can mention some articles in that introduction itself, that is article 315 to 323, and it is hailed as the guardian of meritocracy. Immediately in the introduction, you are using a keyword, guardian of meritocracy, playing a pivotal role in recruitment, promotion and disciplining of central service officials or all India service officials. So this basically summarizes what is UPSC. So constitutional body's question, what is very important is constitutional dimension should come in the introduction, thereby showing that okay, I know it as a significant body, or I know it is a constitutional body, and mention some article, and then you talk about what is the mandate of the body. What is the mandate here? Recruitment, promotion and disciplining of officials of central civil services. So this introduction, similar introduction you can plan for any constitutional body. Next is a basic timeline. A basic timeline. What is the basic timeline? The Public Service Commission, as a first legislation it came in GOI, Government of India Act 1990, then 19 Lee Commission was established in 19, Constituted 1924. It gave recommendation in 19. Based on that, a body was established in 1926. Then Government of India Act 1935 established it as a Federal Public Service Commission. again expanding its role further with the constitution in 1950. It was given a constitutional status, say for example under article 315, to 323. So constitutional status. This is a small timeline. For mains purpose it is not that relevant, but for PT this is relevant this year. You can even expect a question on UPSC itself, its constitutional dimension. You can expect various important articles related to constitution, its composition and function. So that is why I said it will, you refer that, or if you are lazy to refer, then we'll discuss the factual aspects during our PT classes of phase 2, because that is purely factual things. Next is the key mandate or the objectives of UPSC. So the original purpose of establishing such a commission articulated by the Lee Commission 1924. The first one is what? First key aspect is why we need such commission. First one, in a democracy, this is what Lee Commission's articulation, Lee Commission observed. In a democracy, what is important? Government will establish, or political parties are having a role and they will establish what? Governments, but it is temporary. It is temporary. So in any democracy, that is what Commission also said, in any democracy, the governments are temporary, which are basically established by political parties contesting in elections. And these political parties may differ with respect to their ideologies, their positions. So every political party, one comes and it will go, another political party will come, it will differ in their ideologies. But what is important in a democracy is administrative continuity. Administrative continuity, and administrative continuity also depends on administration becoming neutral. So neutrality is a key dimension. It's a key dimension because the administrative machinery must remain neutral. It must remain neutral. Second, so that is one key mandate. It should remain neutral institution. So what is its role? Whoever comes, whatever be the nature of political ideologies, administration should remain neutral and serve efficiently, thinking about what? Public interest. That is administrative continuity is must. Second key observation by Lee Commission is that to secure that efficient civil service. So for this what is needed? You need an efficient civil service. How you can secure an efficient civil service? By providing stability and security of tenure. So by providing stability, security of tenure, stability, or protecting it from arbitrary dismissal. So stability of tenure, stability of tenure or security, stability and security of tenure, this will ensure what? Independence of such a body. This will ensure independence. Independence, and it will enable them to work efficiently. That independence will enable them to work efficiently because they are not under any political pressure. Third important observation of Lee Commission is that Commission also observed that it has to remain impartial. It has to remain impartial. So impartiality should be another key objective. It should not show any biasness. It should be completely impartial. It should provide services to the people impartially to protecting public interest. So these are the three things observed by League Commission. This observation is relevant now also. This observation relevant now also. This is highlighted even by the chairman of UPSC, Dr. Ajay Kumar. So he says, very importantly, he summarizes the present UPSC. This is a quote which is given in your handout. I don't know how many of you use this quote in the answers. If the history of the UPSC is its foundation, the principles of trust, integrity and fairness are its pillars. This is the conclusion you can use. If the history of the UPSC is its foundation, the principles of trust, integrity and fairness are its pillars. So when you talk about UPSC as an efficient building, what is its foundation? How it is constituted? What was its historical mandate to present mandate? And what are its pillars? Its pillars are based on trust, integrity and fairness. Trust of the millions of aspirants, integrity of the commission, confidentiality, integrity, unbiasedness of the commission without any external influence. And third one is equality of opportunity, fairness, equality of opportunity. So these are the core pillars of UPSC. So you should use this quote, and there is a possibility that you will get a question also this year. Because of 100 years and because there is also a lot of debate on this UPSC, reforms in UPSC, reforms in the way it is conducted. There are a lot of things. UPSC already day before yesterday gave an affidavit, not announcement, gave an affidavit in the court. What is a affidavit? Affidavit and announcement is different. Okay, what is affidavit? It will publish a provisional answer key immediately after conducting the prelims examination, which is a key demand of aspirants. But it said that it will be a provisional answer key. You study. That's it. What is supposed to do from your end is studies. Rest, whatever change UPSC want to bring in, there is also demand for changing the age limit or changing the way age limit is calculated, that August 1 as a cutoff date. So there is a lot of arguments against that particular lack of intelligible differentia in the August 1st cutoff. So those things are there is not any way. So what is important for our purpose is, the first aspect is the constitutional dimension. So article 315 to 323, plus you please go through the composition and functions. It was a previous year's UPSC question, very factual question, but you need to go through that and just take a note of how it is composed, chairman, how many members. Is constitution prescribes the number of members? Qualification? No. So these are not there in the constitution. So you need to know this will be the PT question. This year if a PT question comes, these nuances will be the PT question, will be based on these nuances in composition or function. So that time we will discuss. Now I am not going to the factual things. Next is the key achievements, success aspects. So the first one is upholding meritocracy upholding meritocracy and trust. How it is upholding meritocracy and trust? This is UPSC chairperson's view only. So upholding meritocracy and trust, what are the key aspects? UPSC is envisioned as the guardian of meritocracy, and its core principle is based on the value of trust, integrity, fairness, and trust is also built because of the way it conducted the examination in the past. Compared to any other state PSC institutions, UPSC is always maintained high credibility. So that is, it is considered as an impartial and efficient institution. And that is true also, it ensures a level playing field. It is not concerned about what is your particular background. The only problem is that you people are not having time. It is not that UPSC is biased against anyone. The problem is more because you people don't have time. You people are in the brain rot. You are not able to study properly because of the brain rot. Every 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, no, 5 seconds. There is recently read, I think in a Times of India somewhere there is an article came which were talking about micro drama. I think Mind wrote about it. Micro dramas. So what is the present trend is micro drama. That is not even 5 minute length. They are coming with very short 1 minute stories, dramas, and then it will continue like 1 minute, like 5 minutes total. Because there is an acknowledgement that the present day people don't have even 1 minute attention span. So they are now focusing on movies. Very few people, if only after the reviews people are going to the movie halls to watch the movie. You will first listen to the review, and if you think that it is a theatrical experience, otherwise you are not going, otherwise you are ready to wait. You are ready to wait for the movie to come in OTT, then OTT how you are watching? Yeah, you will watch 5 minutes, then you will go and come back, between that you will pick up. If it is not interesting, you will just stop watching it. So that brain rot is a problem with the preparation. UPSC is ensuring a level playing field. Next one is the operational excellence and scale. It is considered as world's biggest competitive examination. World's biggest competitive examination, and it is conducted with a lot of consistency, managing the complexity and diversity of the country. For example, it is published in examinations conducted in 22 languages recognized under the Constitution. So that is a key aspect of the scale, excellence, consistency. And it's also properly time-bound examination is conducted. Whatever calendar, unless and until there is a real challenge, UPSC always conducted the examination very much time-bound manner. Only when there is a real issue which is national in character, then only changed. Otherwise, even if it's a regional character, it will not change the dates. Now people are demanding. Whenever there comes, you will start demanding, okay, change kar do. I did not study. Change kar do. Then what will happen? Then you are in the Parkinson's law. Again, if at all, like last year, I think UPSC extended the PT. Last year, right? It extended the PT because of the national elections, Lok Sabha elections. What happened? 1 more month to enjoy. It's not that then you think that, okay, the whole universal, that alchemist, universal conspiracy. You won't think that as a universal conspiracy to achieve your dream. You will think that ek aur mahina mila, binge watch karunga kuch. So this is another key aspect. Next one is, it also fosters inclusivity, level playing field inclusivity. means candidates from urban, rural, privileged, underprivileged. Thereby ensuring the true spirit of Indian dream as per UPSC chairman Ajay Kumar. This UPSC ensures the true spirit of Indian dream. This term is very significant. This you can use it in any other area. There is a lot of debate on the term now of American dream. US is diluting this American dream. What is basically the idea of American dream? Regardless of your background, you can achieve success in America. That is basically the idea of American dream. So everybody wants to be in America because they think that I can achieve success, rags to riches stories. That is American dream. Now, I think recently there was another executive order which said that foreign students are not like giving proper, I think there is a cut down in the quota for foreign, yeah, so that is, so Indian dream is what? Indian dream is also that the aspiration that talent, hard work and commitment, talent, hard work and commitment can open the doors of opportunity. So this is also very important because what basically both ensures is socio-economic mobility. Socio-economic mobility. This is very important because if you are not able to achieve the socio-economic mobility in one generation, then it will always lead to intergenerational inequities. So the advantage of, for example, countries like Scandinavian countries or even the countries like Western countries, USA and all, whatever be your background, you can achieve the socio-economic mobility in one or the same generation. Same generation you can achieve. So we, India is also, we are also having like anybody who clears UPSC, one thing is guaranteed, ensured, what? The socio-economic mobility in the same generation. No doubt in that. So that is a Indian dream. It is also important because it always showed institutional resilience. Another success is the institutional resilience. Example, COVID pandemic. COVID pandemic, even during COVID disruptions, UPSC conducted the examinations with a very minimal delay. So that is institutional resilience and institutional adaptation. Institutional adaptation, resilience and adaptation, for example, technological reforms, Pratibha Setu, Pratibha Setu initiative. There is another successful reform introduced by UPSC for those people who appeared for interview but did not get into the final rank list. So many opportunities are now available for them also. See, the only idea is that lot of debate on plan A, plan B. You should all first think of plan C, then you make plan B, plan A. You do this job properly, you do this studies properly, you will get enough openings. Don't think for, the problem is that mentally we are not having that capacity to study what is required for UPSC. That is a problem. It is always beautiful to see chaos from outside. When you see that, when you face the reality, then things will change. So you should be in a position that, okay, you are concerned about this and you study with a proper effort, you put your level best. Then you will clear, you will get into something, whether Pratibha Setu or whatever. you will get something. So this is also reflected with the data, that is the results data. You can like talk about women empowerment. One is 177 out of 685 recommended candidates were women, that is in CSE 2021. Similarly, in 2023 batch, out of 180 women officers, 74 are women officers, that is again more than 40%. So this all represents very high women participation and success. Success in this particular examination. Next is examinations conducted in various languages and things like that. Regional centers are more than 2500 as per the chairman. Next is another study, that is Lokniti CSDS study. CSDS. Conducted last year. So what is the key observations as per the Lokniti CSDS study on the psychological pressures faced by UPSC aspirants? First one is loneliness. 60% aspirants reported loneliness. Stress and fear of poor performance. 70% aspirants. Who are these 30% we should see? 70% aspirants reported experiencing stress and fear of poor performance. And the report also, at least you write one thing, that is either loneliness or stress and fear of poor performance. That data is enough. But the report also found another thing, coping mechanism. This you just listen, okay, you don't need to mention this. Most common coping mechanism is watching media or YouTube. This is the most common coping mechanism. Watch web series, YouTube, music, all those things. But there are another group, that is they focus on physical and mindfulness. The survey is conducted at Rajendra Nagar only. Because you might see some people who are walking in their Sindhi park and all. You ask, how you are coping up? See, I am very much focused on my gym and things like that. And then he'll go back and he'll cry. But that he won't tell to the survey. And another coping mechanism is sleeping. This is what is reported in the survey. Sleeping. Around like 17% students reported that they just cope up by going to sleep. Long, not hours, days. So, what is important is, one is related to the inclusivity, you can mention some data. Second is regional and linguistic parity, you can mention some data. Third one is another problem related, that is related psychological stress of examination. The past also UPSC asked a question on increasing suicides among aspirants. Nahi pucha hai. Women. Yes, it was a paper 1 question. Now I will also tell you one more important aspect. See, you should compare all these things with our hyphenated friend Pakistan. What Pakistan did, Pakistan dismantled the model. Pakistan board reforms in 1973, Bhutto, and it dismantled the model which it was adopted. That is a All India Service, and only dismantled it. So Pakistan, by dismantling that original model, Pakistan lost what? What we discussed in the initial objectives, that neutrality, administrative continuity, stability or impartiality, which basically affects the country. So compared to like India, one of the major problem for Pakistan is lack of such strong institutions. Lack of strong institutions, because Pakistan brought reforms in 1973, administrative reforms in 1973 by Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. So it was considered a kind of a politically motivated reforms. But what is the major problem because of this? It abolished that elite, all like Pakistan services, not India. So which led to what? The loss of administrative continuity, neutrality, impartiality, or led to a lot of politicization of the services. And it also removed the constitutional protections. So this was a major problem. What is the problem? Lack of strong institutions. So this also you should compare India's achievements by comparing our own neighborhood and its institutional challenges. Other challenges, but anyway, having said that, we are also facing challenges. So there are some high profile cases. What are the high profile cases? So there was cases of gaming the system by getting false certificates, false reservation certificates by some now former aspirants. So there are many such examples, allegations of getting certificates by falsifying facts or details. So that is one problem. Similarly, now another problem emerged. Many aspirants are trying to obtain EWS certificates by gaming the system. So this is another challenge. Next is structural challenges, structural policy challenges. One major structural challenge which is now becoming a frequent debate is that the debate of generalist versus specialist. Many are arguing that in the present modern governance framework, there is also a need of lot of specialists. So this is a debate, it's not a new debate, it is a perennial debate with respect to such services which is more generalist in nature. Then another debate is the entry of lateral entry. So this is criticized, some are criticizing it, some are supporting it. So this is another key debate, structural and policy debate. Next is inclusivity challenges. Tell me what are the inclusivity challenges? You might have written this answer. Yeah, there is also, though we discussed is a positive, chairman itself said that it is about inclusivity, but what is the problem on the ground is, it is still considered as urban and elitist in nature, especially favoring more English speaking population. So that is a challenge. So there is a urban rural disparities, or even these papers are not like CSAT papers and all, its papers are not solvable by normal education. If you study from normal education, if you think that I will appear for UPSC is on different level and you are appear on different level. So such unspoken barriers are there. Next is the psychological distress, Loknidhi CSDS study. There is also one more term which is used by another expert, that is the problem of sunk cost fallacy. What is sunk cost fallacy? Yeah, you invested some time, especially your prime age. If you invest 1 or 2 years, you will think that इतना तो मैं कर दिया, एक और बार करता हूं. That is sunk cost. You invested some sunk cost. Because of that, you'll think that okay, I will keep on writing again and again and again. That is sunk cost fallacy. Okay, so that is another challenge. There is psychological challenges. Next is efficacy of the examination. That is also criticized by some experts. One problem highlighted is that rote learning and subjectivity. Another issue raised by, for example, former RBI Governor D. Subbarao, he raises another problem, that is civil service examination is prone to statistical analogy used, prone to type 1 and type 2 errors. Type 1 and type 2 errors. So what is type 1 error? Statistically. So type 1 error is someone who may potentially good administrators fail to make it. That is type 1 error. Someone who might be like potentially good administrators might not make it, they may not clear it. And someone who get in later prove that they are poor administrators. So this is a problem, type 1 and type 2 errors. Type 1 error is some are not clearing, though they are having potentially good qualities, administrative qualities, academic aspects, but they may not clear. Some may clear and later you will understand that वो तो wrong selection था. Next is views. So chairman's views we already discussed, and there is also enough aspects which is there in the article. So that is first, key preference is always for mentioning chairman's views. Second, D. Subbarao, that is former RBI governor's view. One view we already discussed, another we will discuss as part of suggestions. Third one is Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council member, his view. He said that he criticized, basically it was also led to a lot of debate and criticism. He said that among young Indians there is a poverty of aspiration. There is a poverty of aspiration among young Indians. What is the problem? There is some kind of structural ceilings. Some kind of structural ceilings leading to what? Poverty of aspiration. What is this problem? Maximum what the young Indians, according to the member, he says that the maximum aspiration is what? Get into government service and become a joint secretary. So he says that this is because of poverty of aspirations. But it is criticized also. The major criticism is that this is one opportunity which will ensure socio-economic, social mobility. If you are looking for economic mobility, note down these people who are looking for economic mobility. So another thing is suggestion by D. Subbarao, former RBI governor. He suggested first one, review the entry level. One is already discussed, type 1, type 2, another one is suggestion. review the entry level eligibility criteria. Entry level eligibility criteria. He basically suggested to reduce the maximum age and number of attempts. Reduce the maximum age and number of attempts so that these youngsters, the demographic dividend, they may not waste their productive years. So if you reduce the number of attempts and age, then they will come out from that system immediately. They look for other options. So that is to reduce the waste of productive years. That is one thing. Second, he suggested, so this is entry level. Second is a mid level. Second is promote a mid level recruitment or mid career recruitment. So recruit properly through a, presently what is the mid level recruitment? Lateral entrance. This leading to a lot of criticism because this gives a lot of discrepancies with respect to the way it is recruited. So he said that the mid level recruitment will be permanent mechanism. Like the entry level, you conduct a permanent mid level annual institutionalized mid level recruitment. Institutionalized mid level recruitment. So this is also a suggestion which you can use it if you are writing, even if you are not supporting it. But this I think you will support. Your problem will be here. You want more and more attempts, full career throughout the life attempts. Next is another key thing is this is also reforms, or you can use it as a steps taken, or you can use it as a way forward. First one is what? Technological integration. Operational reforms, technological reforms, for example, online portals. Yeah, zero impersonation. There was a case study of I think some person who is in service. He's already got IPS or something. He used Bluetooth. IPS officer only. That is the only option now available. Zero impersonation techniques like face recognition technology. So those kind of technology adoption. So this is a reform, or what is a further way forward is also what? Technological integration. Next one is procedural reforms. Procedural reforms. For example, verification of the certificates. Now what is another change brought in? You need to submit the DAF 1 during your PT phase itself. So such procedural reforms are being brought in. Mandatory online submission of documents at the prelim stage itself. Third one is initiative for aspirant employment. Aspirant employment. That is Pratibha Setu. Pratibha is for professional resource. Yeah, professional resource and talent integration bridge for hiring aspirants. You people only will give such things tomorrow. Yeah, no doubt. So these are the things. Finally, you can conclude with the constitutional premises. Introduction also needs that constitutional premise, and way forward is also what? The constitutional morality, constitutional premise, or strong institutions under SDG 16. I'll give you 2 to 3 minutes. You evaluate, and the copy in front of you, if you think that some additions are required, you can jot down that. If it is your copy or others' copy, just do that. See, there is one is basically when you say all India services, it is generally called as that. But it is all, everything is, whether state also, it is state civil service. Statistical? Everything. Anyone used any other point, anything extra, any diagram or anything? What is that? Timeline. Okay. That is not a major part of the question. Okay, so how many of you, anyone got above 5? Okay. 3 and above? Okay. Fine. Others got 1, 2, 0. Means, see, even if you are able to write what is given in that article by the chairman itself, you can write, because the word Gajini meritocracy is also mentioned in the particular article. Okay. Now, next topic, PRIs. Okay. So, local bodies, Panchayati Raj institutions. So, the context news, introduction for the answer, PRIs and its role in good governance, studies to support good governance, role of PRIs, or in general which is useful in other places related to the legacy reforms, advantages of PRIs, new rules, present context is related to the Odisha's new rules. So in general also you need to know this. That is also a problem with respect to the PRI system, the pros and cons, suggestions and conclusion. So the context is the Odisha Panchayat Samiti rules 2025. That is the context. Having said that, this is also considered as the overall efforts for dilution of democratic decentralization, or a kind of plateauing of the decentralization, which is considered as a criticism. So that is also the context. Again, a constitutional body recommended to use the constitutional aspects in the introduction. So one way to start this is the 73rd or 74th Constitutional Amendment Act gave constitutional status to Panchayati Raj institutions, local or urban bodies, and the aim of this constitutionalization is what? Is to achieve democratic decentralization by empowering local self-governance. So again, I am telling you, any constitutional body, your introduction should have their constitutional dimension. Place that answer by linking it with the constitutional dimension, instead of starting with any quote and all. Further, after mentioning that, you can quote. What is that? For example, by empowering local self-governance as articulated or as dreamed by Mahatma Gandhi ji. What was that? Yes, like that you can, every village should be a self-republic. So you can use that. So instead of starting with any quote, you mention the constitutional dimension, then link that with Gandhi's vision of every village has to become self-sufficient republic. Like that you use the quote. Next is the role of local bodies in providing good governance. It was a previous year's question. So, PRIs or local bodies mandated as institutions of self-governance at the local level, which plays a critical role in ensuring good governance in the following manner. What was the first one? How it ensures good governance. First one is the constitutional mandate. The constitutional mandate itself is a reason for ensuring good governance. What is the constitutional mandate? 73rd and 74th constitutional amendments that granted the constitutional legitimacy. Second is what? At least one article you can mention, that is 243G. Yeah, 243G of the Constitution. What is the key aspect of that? It empowers the state legislature to grant powers as necessary to function as institutions of self-government. So that is a key aspect. So this will ensure what? The justice as mentioned in preamble, economic, social justice. So that is a key aspect of good governance, socio-economic justice. Second, how it functions, provides good governance, is by ensuring democracy deepening of democracy, by facilitating grassroots democracy through direct citizen participation, through institutions like Gram Sabha, through methods like bottom up planning. So Gram Sabha, bottom up planning, that is how it is deepening people's participation, grassroots democracy. Third one is, it is also ensuring inclusivity, or it is ensuring social justice. Inclusivity, how? By constitutionally mandated political representation. By constitutionally mandated political representation for women, SC, STs. Constitutionally mandated political representation for women, SCs, STs. And this is very successful because as per studies, this again you can use it in multiple places. First one is, according to writers of The Power of Political Voice. According to the writers of The Power of Political Voice, they talked about, I think we discussed this before. What is that? There is a link between women's political representation. Yes. There is a link between women's political representation and the responsiveness of officials. Which is called as reporting channel and recording effect. Reporting channel and recording effect. So what does this, what is the author say? Author says that if there is a woman political representative, then if at all there is a crime against women happens, it will lead to more reporting of such offences, such crimes, and more recording of such offences by the authorities. FIRs will be filed, action will be taken. So this is a serious study which says that there is a link between need of women's representation and the preventing what? Preventing invisibilization of the crime. So this can reduce the invisibilization because they will voluntarily come forward and report, and the officials will record. That is reporting channel recording effect. You can use this in the same study, you can use it in the topic which we discussed. Next is Nobel laureate Esther Duflo. This was a previous question. Means there was a question which you can answer with the ideas like this. Esther Duflo, she found that gender of the village president affects the extent of gender of the village president affects the extent of investment in public goods. according to the data collected by Esther Duflo, increased female representation. Increased female representation led to more public investment in drinking water and roads. Drinking water and roads in response to the complaints by the women. So the key observation is that women pradhans or women village presidents, they focus on infrastructure that is relevant to the needs of the rural women. That is why this is how it will lead toward good governance. Good governance. Next is another key aspect of good governance is what? Transparency and accountability. So that is ensured through constitutionally mandated regular elections. So through regular elections, it is easy for the voters to hold their elected bodies accountable. So regular election is constitutionally mandated. Second key aspect is that conducting of social audits of various schemes. This will ensure transparency. Conducting of social audits, regular social audits projects are taken. However, there are certain challenges. So all these will ensure good governance. However, there are certain challenges. What are the challenges? The fund. Lack of fund and reliance on grants. What is the problem? We discussed in economic survey. Property taxes. Good, but that is one problem. What is that problem we discussed? On revenue is very less. What is that problem? What is the two curves we discussed? One is resource curse, another one is aid curse. This we discussed? We discussed. Aid curse and resource curse, two problems. Resource curse is for those regions which are having resource rich. They will become less developed because of the flow of money. Nothing will be developed, everything will become expensive. That is resource curse. That happens in some places where there is lot of revenue coming from exploitation of natural resources. So this is one problem highlighted by survey. But what is relevant in the PRI case is aid curse. Because once they start getting aids, they won't develop anything locally. Nothing will be developed locally. They will always think of getting that aid from center or state. This is a problem for the PRIs in India, aid curse. They are perpetually dependent on aid. Second, so this is one key problem of fund. Second key problem of fund is what? Lack of on revenue generation. Lack of on revenue generation. Example, not properly taxing the property. Properties are not properly taxed, or lack of on revenue. Second problem is, this was also previous question, elite capture and proxy representation. Yeah, Sarpanch Pati, elite capture. So power is basically captured by the dominant groups in the village. they capture the power, and also proxy representation, Sarpanch Pati, Panchayat Pati problem. Next problem is capacity for implementation, lack of implementation capacity, implementation gap, technical administrative capacity is not there. Next is corruption and misappropriation of funds. So this is, we discussed the role of panchayat in local bodies in ensuring good governance. What is important is that mention at least one study and say that okay, this is clearly established through studies like conducted by Esther Duflo or Prachi Mishra, anything, any other study you can mention. Second, however, there are certain challenges. The advantage of mentioning this challenge is that next is you are talking about the Odisha rules. It is trying to address some of the challenges. So what it says? It says, say for example, there is better administrative or higher administrative or financial authority to bureaucracy, officials. Not better, higher administrative financial authority to officials. This is the key aspect of the rules. For example, BDOs in the past they can sanction only up to 2 lakhs, now 10 lakhs. They are getting more financial autonomy for BDOs. Or Chief Development Officer. Previously they need counter signature from Panchayat Samiti chairman, chairperson. But now they are having more administrative freedom. Administrative freedom. Third one is technical experts like engineers. Previously their power was limited only up to around 4 lakh. Now, now it is up to 5 lakh to, like previously it was up to 5 lakh or something. Now it is up to 4 crores. Yeah, depends on the rank. So even technical experts are having higher financial powers. Chief Development Officer, who is basically the head of executive head of at the Panchayat intermediary levels and all. So they are having more administrative autonomy. BDOs, Block Development Officer, who is also the executive of the block level, he is also getting more financial devolutionary powers. What is basically the idea? Idea is there is more power for bureaucracy or officials. This is the rules. Now you talk about what? The pros and cons. Pros as defended by the government. Whatever government said only we are also discussing. So government said that this is, the positive aspect is that it will ensure what? Administrative efficiency by speedy bill processing. No delay, speedy bill processing. This is very important for developmental works. If developmental works, if they want to carry out continuously, what they should ensure? Speedy disposal of the pending bills. So that is one thing. Bill processing. Faster clearances are required. Second, it also raises the volume of developmental works. Increase the developmental works. More and more developmental works can be carried out at the Panchayati level. Increase the volume of developmental projects, roads, housing, drinking water. irrigation, all those things. Next is, another one is a smooth implementation across the panchayati levels, not limited to few, a uniform implementation of developmental schemes. So this will lead to what? Progress across the panchayat, means it will prevent a regional discrimination, disparity. Progress across the panchayat by through smooth implementation. Next is streamlining of the fund or curbing misuse of fund. Just now we discussed one problem is corruption, misappropriation. So financial mismanagement, misappropriation of public funds which are meant for developmental expenditure, that is misappropriated, that is through corruption and all, siphoning off, that has to be prevented. These are the underlying logic. So these are the pros. Now what are the cons? You can also use a diagram here. What is that? Official, administrative or financial powers increased. This will lead to what? Professional management and bureaucratic accountability. This will lead to what? This will lead to expectation is what? Yeah, socio-economic transformation across the PRIs or local bodies. Local bodies. This is intended what? Intended for overall progress. Progress of the state or local bodies. This is basically the way you can represent the same thing. After mentioning one or two points, you can just use that. A flow diagram and say that what is the objective of the government? Government's objective is positive dimension. That is the progress. Progress of the state. However, there are concerns. What are the concerns? First problem is, criticism is what? It will lead to bureaucratic centralization against democratic decentralization. It will lead to, this is how you will write the same ideas. It will lead to bureaucratic centralization against democratic decentralization. Or it will lead to systemic disempowerment. Systemic disempowerment of grassroots democracy. So use keywords in explaining this. Next is, this will lead to what? Alienation of the people. Alienation of the people. And further the challenge is that such measures will also tamper the legacy reforms. What are the legacy reforms? Legacy reforms, that is increasing political voice representation for, say, women and marginal sections. Now they are bypassed. So once you are bypassing them, then their power will reduce. Okay. So what are the suggestions? One is collaborative governance. You don't need to mention the political party's name and all. See, the question will be very, even if the question is asking, UPSC will frame not based on one particular state problem, UPSC will ask what will happen if things are bypassed and given to officials. So you don't need to mention a political parties. So first one is the collaborative governance. Everybody, that is the stakeholders, whether it is bureaucrats, officials, elected representatives, center, state, through proper division of roles. That is what is required for implementation. Better division of roles. Okay, what is the role of elected representative? What is the role of unelected officials? Next is, what is very important at the local level is capacity building. Capacity building. So that can reduce the over reliance on officials, bureaucracy or other stakeholders. Third one is checks and balances, social audit, all those things. So solution is what? 3 C's. 3 C's solution, that is collaborative governance, capacity building, checks and balances. You can end the answer with a quote, Gandhiji's quote, or any quotes related to grassroots democracy or constitutional dimension, mentioning by 73rd, 74th Amendment Act, or any particular constitutional dimension, organization, village, panchayat. Which article? 40. So mention Article 40 as an obligation on the state. You can use that, or you can use SDG 16. What is that? Strong institutions. Strong institutions. One more topic is there. I know that we will discuss in next class. SDG will be the last option. Anything, nothing if you are coming into mind, then you use SDG.